You know, when it comes to manufacturing, sometimes the biggest wins, they come from the most unexpected places. Today, we're going to dive into the surprisingly complex world of the carbon brush and see how a clever piece of software is turning literal waste into pure profit.
I mean, it's a question every single manufacturer asks themselves, right? How do you know for sure that you're getting every last bit of value out of your raw materials? Well, for one particular industry, the key wasn't just about better cutting, it was all about smarter calculation.
You see, for these carbon brush manufacturers, the really sneaky cost wasn't in the material itself. It was in all the hours of manual math and sheer guesswork that had to happen before a single cut was even made. And that's a process that's just begging for errors.
And here's the thing, somebody involved in this process put it perfectly. They said, doing this manually can take a lot of time and often leads to estimation errors. And that's just it, isn't it? It's slow and it's inaccurate. That is a brutal 1-2 punch for any business trying to be efficient. So the challenge is really twofold. First, it's this big geometric puzzle. You've got this giant block of carbon, and you need to cut these tiny little brushes out of it. So what's the absolute maximum number of brushes you can possibly squeeze out of that block? Then part two is the financial puzzle. Once you know that number, what's the real cost for each individual piece? If you get either of those wrong, well, you're basically just throwing money away.
Okay, so when you have a problem that's this specific, you just know there has to be a smarter way. And there is. Let's introduce the Optimizer.
So what is the Carbon Brush Size Optimizer? Well, it's a super intelligent software tool built to do one thing and do it perfectly. Completely simplify and automate the whole calculation process for making these carbon brushes. It takes that complex, messy, manual job and turns it into something simple, automated, and most importantly, crazy accurate.
All right, so how does this thing actually work? Let's take a peek inside and see how you go from a raw block of carbon to a perfectly optimized brush.
So the whole thing starts with this really clean, simple dashboard. You basically just tell it two things. Here's the size of the raw block I'm starting with, and here's the size of the finished brush I need to make. That's it. No complicated menus, just the essentials.
It's really just a few simple steps. First, you pop in the block dimensions, then the brush dimensions. Step 3, you pick your material grade, let's say TC155 for example, and then, and this part is really cool, you choose your priority. Are you trying to get the absolute lowest cost for each brush, or are you trying to get the maximum number of brushes possible out of the block? You get to decide what's most important.
And this is where the magic really happens. The second you hit that calculate button, bam, the optimizer just goes to work. And you don't just get one answer, you get multiple, fully optimized cutting strategies. It shows you the cost for each one and even gives you a 3D model so you can see exactly how it's going to work. It's not a guess anymore. It's instant, visual clarity.
Okay, that's pretty cool, right? But what does this actually mean for production? How does a tool like this really impact the bottom line?
Well, the benefits are actually massive. For starters, you're optimizing every single block of material, so waste goes way down. You're cutting down calculation time from hours to seconds. Your production planning gets a whole lot sharper. You can estimate the cost per brush with pinpoint accuracy. And even managing all your different material grades becomes super efficient. It's a win-win-win. I mean, look at the difference here. The manual way could take hours, sometimes even days. With the optimizer, it's seconds. You're going from something that's prone to error to something that is absolutely precise, from pure guesswork to optimized data. This isn't just a small improvement, it's a complete game changer for a super critical part of the business.
And you know, this story is really about more than just carbon brushes. It points to a much bigger idea: smarter industrial solutions.
This particular tool was actually developed by a company called Codecraft Technologies, and this is exactly what they do. They're specialists who go into industrial settings, find these hidden time-wasting problems, and build custom software to fix them. They're all about turning, well, this is how we've always done it, into, wow, this is how it should be done.
And really, this whole thing is a perfect example of how custom software can completely transform a traditional manufacturing workflow. When you build technology that truly understands the specific pain points of an industry, you can unlock some absolutely huge gains in both efficiency and profit.
So that kind of leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? What's the hidden inefficiency in your industry? What's that one manual, time-sucking process that everyone just accepts as part of the job? Because odds are, there's a software solution just waiting to be built for it. And as we just saw, it can completely transform everything.